Welcome to Pure Hustle Podcast. I'm Mike.
And this is Orlando, and we're here for our first Monday mobile mini-sode.
Ooh, our mobile Mondays. I mean, all of our Monday minis are going to be mobile now, so might be a redundant title.
Well, for the first one.
But we'll take it. Yeah, I think that was clever. So we're finally doing our remote Mondays. And if you've been a fan of the podcast, you've watched our shows for a while, you know that we've done various times where we've been mobile. I mean, there have been times where I've been in my car recording or at a hotel room or you at a hotel room. So we've done that before, but I have now moved away from California. I'm in Texas now. And so we're continuing the podcast. So for those of you who are just stumbling onto this episode, on Mondays, we release our Monday minis on YouTube exclusives, about 10 to 15 minutes where we get to talk about a topic in a lot of depth, but just one topic. And then every Wednesday, you can catch our longer show. It's an hour, 15 minutes. Like our upcoming one is going to be a little bit longer, but you can catch our longer shows or listen to them on anywhere you get your podcast needs met.
And there we go. So I definitely appreciate all of you catching us on YouTube. Before we get started, if you haven't yet, make sure to hit that subscribe. Make sure to hit that like button, unless you want to wait till the end. So just watch to the end, and if you like it, smash that like button.
All right. Before we get started, though, I do want to say, because I feel like my eyes are like super red and like dry right now. So people are like, what is wrong with Mike? I'm not crying. I am sad to be away from Orlando and not in California anymore. But I'm in a hot garage. And so I had a fan blowing on my face. My eyes have like dried out. So anyways,
is that okay. What it is?
And you need your eyes in order to be able to view. And today we're going to be talking about why views and watchers aren't actually that important on YouTube, or on not YouTube, on
yes, they are on
very
YouTube.
Important on YouTube.
Definitely important on YouTube.
Not that important on eBay, and how they can actually be hurtful for you.
Yeah, so
that was a good segue if I didn't mess it up with the YouTube thing.
Yes, please watch this episode as many times as possible. All right, now, the first thing here is the more views does not guarantee a sale. Honestly, it does not. A lot of people right away, like, especially if you're brand new, and I get it, when you're new, right, there's that dopamine rush, like, wow, like 5 people watch my item, right? I got 6 views. You wake up in the morning, you got 20 views. You're like, yes, this means it's going to sell. It means you have a greater chance of it selling, because people are watching it, right? If no one's watching it, no one's going to buy it. But at the same time, I have things that have thousands of views that never get purchased. Yeah. And it could be because somehow a certain keyword brought up the item and people decided to click on it, and they're like, nope, this is what I wasn't looking for. Sometimes it could be competitors. It could be various reasons why people are viewing it, but that doesn't guarantee a sale.
Yeah, and it can be a useful tool for you. I mean, we're saying that it doesn't matter. It does matter. It's just not a guarantee. So if you've got items that have 0 views or very low views, that's a useful metric for you to be looking at. That's data that's useful. If you've got items with a lot of views and it hasn't moved, that's also data that can be very useful. But yeah, like you said, when you're first starting, you might think, hey, I've got a whole bunch of views. This thing is going to sell. That may or may not be the case. There's, like you said, a lot of other factors. In fact, more views can actually hurt you. So for some people, they post things. We often get asked why we don't share our stores. Now, people all the time find our stores because we don't hide. Like we talk about Bellows, things we've sold, but we're not like advertising. Come check out my store. And the reason is, if you have a big following on social media in the reselling sphere, and you sell something or you post something, and people are going to your store to look at it. Hey, that's a cool shirt. I want to see how much it sells for. And so everybody starts going on and watching it or looking at it or viewing it. It can be very detrimental to your store or to that item, because as far as eBay is concerned, you've got this item. Let's say it gets 500 views and nobody buys it. Nobody puts it in their cart. Nobody starts to like heavy browse it where you can offer an offer or anything like that. eBay is going to potentially look at that and say, hey, maybe this is an item that's not priced right. Maybe it's not actually that desirable. And they're going to start dumping it in the search, like the ranking. So another item that might be worse than yours or a higher price might actually get bumped up because eBay is thinking, hey, this one actually seems to be better. The other one, there's something wrong with it. So it can be detrimental if you start getting a ton of views. Like I wouldn't tell all your friends and you to just check out your item on eBay over and over and over, because eventually that could lower you in the algorithm.
Yeah, agreed. And same goes with watchers, right? A lot of times, people get really excited because they have watchers in an item, and that doesn't guarantee a sale again. But I've had it happen where, right now I think I have one that had like 37 watchers. And it was just, I think it's people that saw me source it on Instagram, and they're just seeing if it's actually going to go for the price that I said it would go for. And that's happened before. But sometimes you have like a collectible item, and there's a lot of people looking at it. So you never know why people are watching. Sometimes it's other resellers, right? I do that all the time. I watch a lot of items because they have somebody source the same item, and I want to see if they really are going to get the price that they want it for. And if they do, that means I can sell it at that price, or maybe a little bit higher. So you got to be careful, because you look at watchers, you're like, yeah, this is going to sell. But I can't tell you how many items I have in my store that have watchers, and they've had watchers for years, and it just doesn't sell. Right. And that kind of goes along with the idea that watchers can sometimes be collectors from various groups. This happens all the time. So I always get, nasty messages, in the sense that, like, recently I got one where somebody was like, yeah, man, I'd buy that from you if it was $100, but it's way too expensive. And I looked at sold, and I said, hey, by the way, this item sold for over $200. So my price is where the market's at. And sure enough, they started watching it, and it's very possible they went to a Facebook group and mentioned this item, and all these people started watching it. You never know. I've had people that watch my items in my eBay store because they're like, for example, train collectors. They watch a lot of my items because it's going to determine the market. For, sometimes some of them don't sell on eBay, but they may be in a Facebook group, and then they sell at like a railroad show or something. And so eBay can determine the market. And so a lot of people that are watching, they're just watching to get data. They're not looking to buy anything. And what that can do is, like Mike said, it can kind of weigh your store down. So don't get too excited if you have watchers. To me, it's really bad. If you have like 20 to 40 watchers and your item doesn't sell, I don't think that's a good thing. I really don't. And so just be careful about getting too excited about how many watchers you have on an item.
Yeah. No, that's good. I mean, those two things you mentioned, competition, it's very, very possible, because I've done that before. I found an item at a thrift store or at a garage sale, and I pick it up, and I'm going to be listing it soon. I'm doing some research on it. So I'll watch an item that's currently listed. It's maybe one that's listed a little higher. Maybe there's no comps. So I'll just watch a couple just so that it's easier to find too. Because a lot of times it's almost like a bookmark for me, right? Mm-hmm. Like you watch it, it becomes a bookmark. And that way you can find it easily at another time. And again, it's not so much that I'm so concerned about that item, or I'm definitely not interested in buying it. I don't think a handful of watchers of competition is necessarily going to weigh your store down. I do think, though, it's just, again, it's a metric that it can be useful. If you see that your item has a bunch of watchers, but there hasn't been any opportunity to send an offer, which a lot of times offers are like if people are putting something in their cart, or if they're continue to go back to it over and over, maybe when they first watch it, then that might tell you that's a watcher that's not necessarily like a legitimate one. It's the same thing with social media, right? Like if you post something on social media, you're often going to get like legitimate followers and likes, and then you're going to get a handful of comments and likes or followers that are clearly spam or bots. So you don't look at however many followers or likes you have and think that every single one of those represents somebody who actually legitimately liked your thing, versus some of those are bots and some of those are. So you just kind of got to think the same way. Now, if you have an item that's not getting any watchers, it's not getting any views, again, that's data that's useful for you.
Yeah, agreed. And talking about data, this is the last reason I think that you should not be too concerned about how many views and watchers you have. It's because eBay doesn't really tell you what that means, right? There's no, I mean, there's like research about like your impressions and click-through rate, but the reality is there is no like metric about like, hey, if people have viewed it, your item so many times, it's more likely to sell, right? There's no thing about, hey, if people are watching it for this amount of time, chances are that it's going to sell. Like eBay doesn't have any data on that, right? So I've had stuff that I've listed that have had like one view in an entire week, and boom, it sells. right? No watchers at all, just somebody finds it, right? And sometimes, right, I have items that have a bunch of watchers, but the thing to send offers never comes up. And eBay doesn't tell you why, right? eBay tells you that, you'll get a send offer in your app if people are heavy browsing, meaning that they've looked at it several times over 15 minutes, that people have it in their cart, whatever it is. But you really don't know when that is, right? I've had certain items I've had tons of watchers, and I've never been able to send an offer, which you would think I should be able to send an offer. There's all these watchers, but no one knows what that data actually means. And the other part is eBay glitches a lot. I can't tell you how many times you'll have like 5 watchers and there's 0 views. You're like, what? How's that even possible? Like, don't they have to see it to watch it? And so I wouldn't put too much into the amount of watchers or viewers. And if it glitches out, especially not. And that's happened so many times over the years where people will have, 0 views, or they'll have, 0 watchers, and they get thousands of views and not one single person has watched the item. So in the long run, don't be stressed too much about, how many views, how many watchers you have. Be more focused on, hey, staying consistent in your sourcing, staying consistent in your listing, shipping on time, finding good items to sell, keeping your costs low, all the things that keep you successful in reselling. And with that being said, it makes you be real,
Be relevant,
and be reselling late.
Peace.